Hey everybody, ZCrazyG here, back with another video. So as you may have heard, there are all sorts of rumours and gossip about a potential brand new Crash Bandicoot game that is in the works due for release later this year. And these rumours are nothing new of course, they've been in circulation as far back as early to mid 2019 as far as I can remember. We've seen leaked concept art, developer and game testing job vacancies, teasers from merch sellers, and straight up claims that a new game is in the works from multiple credible leakers. And while we can't really say anything is certain, with how much has been said, it's nearly all but confirmed at this point. So, a new game is likely to be revealed soon, hooray! This is nothing new though, there have been countless videos discussing whether or not a new game is on the way, but people rarely talk about what a new game would be like. How would it play? What would the story be? How would it innovate from previous titles? I already have shared my thoughts on what I'd like to see from a new game in another video I made back in December, but today, seeing as how we could be very likely seeing a reveal very soon, I wanted to flip the question over to you guys and see what you guys want from a new game. I asked this on my community post and I'm very thankful to everyone who responded. So let's take a look at some of the comments from you guys as we discuss what you would like to see from a brand new Crash Bandicoot game. Our first one comes from someone in Australia, and they say, I would like to see an expanded Crash concept. So not all linear, but not all open either, and some callbacks to the originals would add to the game. So yeah, I think this is the big one really, how the game plays, and I think you've hit the nail right on the head there. I agree we should keep it to the original formula, but innovate upon that, without trying to lose what made that formula work. They're gonna have a fine line to tread here by trying not to keep it too safe by solely sticking to the OG trilogy style, but not innovating so much that it feels like something far removed from Crash Bandicoot. They need to strike the right balance, and I look forward to seeing what they come up with. And yeah, I think some callbacks not only to the OG trilogy, but maybe even some other games in the series are always welcome. Next up we have Cameron Loop. I think that's how you say that. And they say, I really do want them to make use of other characters, especially Pasadena, Nina, Hasty, Yaya, etc., and explore on them in the franchise. So yeah, this is an interesting point. With every Crash game, even beyond Naughty Dog, so many new characters continue to get added to this universe. And not all of them are great, but the majority still have loads of personality and are very loud and colourful characters. And because of that, it makes them very memorable and enjoyable to watch. I think with CTR Nitro Fueled bringing in so many characters from Crash's history into its roster, that kinda made people want to see these characters again. Now personally, I don't mind these characters coming back at all, just as long as they have a reason to come back. In CTR, since it's a racing spin-off, you don't really need an excuse to add those characters, but with a mainline title, unless they're just there for a cameo or a short appearance, then you shouldn't try and shoehorn them in for the sake of them being there. Otherwise, I just feel that their inclusion just feels stupidly pointless, but for just a one-off or brief cameo, yeah, I think that would be nice to utilise the Crash cast where they can. Next up we have DanDoc1, and they say, I'd like to see a reimagining of the Wrath of Cortex, in terms of bringing crunch into the story, and I'd like the elementals and maybe even feature Nina as a boss. Now, okay, I get that people would like to see the ideas and concepts of not only Wrath of Cortex, but also Twinsanity and stuff like that, fully realising their potential as it were, and yeah, I get that, but to be honest, I would just rather they focus on something new. Give us a new game, not another remake or reimagining. Just give us something fresh, something original. We can't keep relying on the past and nostalgia to keep things going for this franchise, or it's just never going to evolve or go anywhere. Now, I completely understand where people are coming from. They want to see these games and concepts come back, but I genuinely think for the time being, we should be focusing on something new. Coming up next, we have Jack Cottle, and they say, I would love to have Crunch playable in the story mode, make him play different from Crash and Coco. They made this new Bandicoot, and you never play as him outside racing and party games. Now this is an interesting idea to discuss, with multiple playable characters. We kind of saw the start of it somewhat with Coco in Crash 3's vehicle levels, then having her as a more watered down Crash Crash in Wrath of Cortex, but with Twinsanity it really took it to a whole new level, with taking control of 3 different characters with very different play styles, and we never actually saw anything like that again, at least not to that degree. With the Insane Trilogy you could play as both Crash and Coco, though it was simply a skin swap, so should we entertain the idea of multiple playable characters? I think if you're gonna have them play the same, then simply let them just be a skin swap by choice, but if you do give them different abilities, make sure all of them are utilised. If you're gonna add a different style of play, don't make it feel lacking or wasted, I think is what I'm trying to say here. Next up we have Chomper Bandicoot, and they say, for gameplay I would love a formula similar to Twinsanity, open world, creative puzzles and side quests. But what I want more is to not use the art style in the mobile game. It's way too cartoony, looks like a Wii game, and does not fit a next-gen PS5 Crash Bandicoot game, a series known for innovation. Also, bring back Foofy. So yeah, a couple things to talk about here. I wouldn't really call Twinsanity open world, it was still a linear game with just a bit more breathing room, though I think that concept would be a cool thing to experiment with, should they be able to blend it with the original style. And I'd also say the inclusion of side elements and puzzles would also be an interesting thing to see. Same thing with the bringing up of Foofy, a scrapped concept that, yeah, it was an idea that would help Crash give him more mobility and different ways of doing things. It would be an interesting gameplay concept for them to reintroduce, maybe? I don't know. It's an interesting idea at the least. Now regarding the art style of the mobile games, honestly, I would say you have nothing to worry about. The mobile games aren't stylized this way because it's the new look for Crash, definitely. No, it's more so styled this way because it's a mobile game. A lot of King's mobile games look like this, and you can almost definitely expect a much better visual style for the real thing. Next up we have Jacob Minenko, I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, and they say, I'd love to see new doctors and villains in an open world like Crash Twinsanity. I'd also love the opportunity to play as the Cortex family again, and even Coco. I think we're getting to a point in the series where people don't only want to play as Crash anymore. Now again, this touches upon the idea of multiple playable characters that we've already discussed. But this also introduces another point. So we have already talked about returning characters, but what about brand new characters? Now the idea of new doctors and villains was something that was planned for one of the cancelled Twinsanity sequels, I think. I've recently been doing my research for the next Crash cancelled episode, and there was meant to be brand new villains introduced in one of those game concepts. And it would be really cool to see new villains with new concepts, as that allows for an interesting character and an interesting and unique boss fight, so yeah, I'm all down for that. Next up we have Nox Tinker, who says, I want ride levels like Polar and Pura. Honestly, I would be shocked if we didn't get levels like these. They are a staple of the original trilogy with an animal riding level type in each game. I wouldn't want them to go overboard with those levels, but rather focus on a few good vehicle level concepts that work and give them a few levels each, just so that it doesn't feel like we're taking too much focus away from the platforming. Next up we have Hayden Keogh, who says, I don't mind what direction they take, to be honest, just as long as it's fun and it still feels like the same world. I'd really like to see Oxide be made a permanent boss character and not exclusive to racing games. One thing I think would be really cool would be incorporating Crash Bash minigames into the game, similar to how Mario Odyssey has minigames. So yeah, that first point sums it up really. As long as the gameplay is fun and enjoyable and feels like Crash Bandicoot, then that's the main thing. The idea of having Oxide as a recurring villain outside of a racing game and in a platforming game instead would be really cool actually. It would be great to see how you translate his racing and speed background into a platforming boss fight. That would be really cool. As for the minigames, you know what? I actually don't mind that idea. I'm someone who really doesn't want a Crash Bash remake, but I think by having some of the minigames from Bash incorporated as a small side element rather than a focus, yeah, I'm down with that. I think that would be the best way of acknowledging and incorporating Crash Bash into the modern era of Crash. Finally, we have Big Norm 85, who says, Crash Bash Remastered.
No!
And so I think we'll end it there. it was genuinely great seeing and reading all of your guys' suggestions. I really enjoyed having a look at these. I'm sorry I couldn't get through all of them for this video, and I keep my fingers crossed that we do hear something soon. The PS5 reveal event is happening this Thursday, so we could hopefully see something there, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. So as always, thank you all so much for watching, everyone. It honestly means so much. Feel free to like and subscribe if you feel like it, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care, guys.